Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Neshtike. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalaka Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Haripriya. Sorry. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So we continue reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me just check where is the screen. Just one moment, please. Yeah. So wishing a very happy new year to all the listeners also. Canto 3, Chapter 14, Text 12. Varatri apatoru mananam lokan avishate yashah patir bhavad vido yasham prajaya nanujayate. So we are continuing yesterday how we saw that Diti, she really had the desire to get the son when Kashyap Muni was busy engaged in his spiritual practices. A woman, and so she's continuing trying to convince him. A woman is honored in the world by the benediction of a husband, and a husband like you will become famous by having children because you're meant for the expansion of living entities. According to Rishabh Dev, one should not become a father or mother unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. So Rishabh Dev is one of the incarnations of the Lord, of Krishna, and we are going to be hearing about him in more detail in the 5th canto, how he's giving the teachings to his children. You know, before he retires, he was a king, and before he retires, and then you know, by his activities, he was actually he's an incarnation of the Lord, and so his activities are uncommon. And then the Jainis, they started. There was a king who was very inspired by Rishabh Dev, and so he started imitating Rishabh Dev without understanding what Rishabh Dev's teachings are, and that's how the Jainism started. That's from this king who was artificially imitating Rishabh Dev's activities, because Rishabh Dev, he was like on a very high elevated platform, so he wouldn't wear clothes. He would roll on his own stool so that people couldn't come near him. But his stool was so fragrant that for miles and miles there was be a good fragrance. You know, not like ours that, you know, you have to immediately, it's unbearable, you know. So this was like, because this king was artificially imitating King Rishabh Dev, that's how the group, the Jainism started from here. We are going to read in more detail in the 5th canto. So what is one of his teachings? One of his teachings is one should not become a father or mother unless one is confident that he can beget children whom he can deliver from the clutches of birth and death. He said that that is the responsibility of the parents too, because we are bringing a child in the world. And so it's the responsibility of the parents to give them knowledge of Krishna consciousness from the beginning. And then later, if they don't take it up for some reason, then it's not on the part of the parents, of course, because everyone has their own desire. But at least this knowledge should be given to the children. Human life is the only opportunity to get out of the material scene, which is full of the miseries of birth, death, old age, and diseases. Every human being should be given the opportunity to take advantage of this human form of life. And a father like Kashyap is supposed to beget good children for the purpose of liberation. So it's only in this human form of life that we can actually get liberated from this material world. Not even if we become demigods, go to higher heavenly planets. No, we cannot. Or even lower planet, in the hellish planets. The hellish planets, the suffering is so much that we can't even think about Krishna because it's just so much suffering. And then in the heavenly planets, there is so much sense enjoyment that we don't want to think about Krishna. So this earthly planets, taking the form of a human being, is the best body, the best situation for us to help us get out of this material world. And so here is very nice point is given that every human being should be given the opportunity to take advantage of his human form of life. So many people don't know this. So we should try to tell others about it. That whoever we can, we should try to tell them about Krishna so they can also begin their devotional life and get out of this material world. So, text 13, Purapita no Bhagavan, Daksho duhitir vatsalaha kam Pranita varam vatsa iti aprachata na prathak. In days long ago, our father, the most opulent Daksha, who was affectionate to his daughters, asked each of us separately whom we would prefer to select as our husband. It appears from this verse that free selection of a husband was allowed by the father, but not by free association. The daughters were asked separately to submit their selection of a husband who was famous for his acts and personality. The ultimate selection depended on the choice of the father. So Daksh had asked Diti, oh, who would you like to marry? So this is what she's telling him. Savidit vatma janam no bhavam sanatana bhavanaha trayodasha dadatasam yaste shilam anuvrittaha. Our well-wishing father Daksh, after knowing our intentions, handed over 13 of his daughters unto you, and since then we have all been faithful. Generally, the daughters were too shy to express their opinions before their father, but the father would accept the daughter's intentions through someone else, such as a grandmother, to whom the grandchildren had free access. King Daksh collected the opinions of his daughters and thus handed over 13 to Kashyap. Every one of Diti's sisters was a mother of children. Therefore, since she was equally faithful to the same husband, why should she remain without children? So because Daksh was a Prajapati, this is in the times where the population is not so much, he is given the duty that he has to populate. So he had 13 daughters, and the 13 of them, they chose Kashyap Muni. And it's not that Kashyap Muni was not capable of maintaining those wives. He was, and that's the reason he could marry more than one. That's how before the kings could have hundreds of wives because they were able to maintain them. But nowadays, even to handle one wife is very difficult. So that's the reason it is not allowed by law. It's not legally allowed by law. in most of the cultures. Athame kuru kalyanam kamam kamalalochana arto pasar panam bhuman amogam hi mahi yasi. O lotus-eyed one, kindly bless me by fulfilling my desire. When someone in distress approaches a great person, his pleas should never go in vain. Diti knew well that her request might be rejected because of the untimely situation, but she pleaded that when there is an emergency or a distressful situation, there is no consideration of time or situation. So she's trying to convince her husband. And then we are going to read how there are so many kings are going to marry so many wives. And so if we look at it from today's point of view, we'll say, oh, how was that possible? But those men were really capable of maintaining more than one wife, keep them, each of them happy, provide for their emotional needs, all the comforts that were needed. That's how they could marry more than one wife. So text 16, ititam viramari chaha kripanam bahubhashinim pratyaha nun nayan vacha pravardhanangat kashmalam. O hero Vidur, Diti, being thus afflicted by the contamination of lust, and therefore poor and talkative, was pacified by the son of Marichi in suitable words. When a man or woman is afflicted by the lust of sex desire, it is to be understood as sinful contamination. Kashyap was engaged in his spiritual activities, but he did not have sufficient strength to refuse his wife, who was thus afflicted. He could have refused her with strong words expressing impossibility, but he was not as spiritually strong as Vidur. Vidur is addressed here as a hero because no one is stronger in self-control than a devotee of the Lord. It appears that Kashyap was already inclined to have sexual enjoyment with his wife, and because he was not a strong man, he tried to dissuade her only with pacifying words. So what's being said is that because Vidur is a pure devotee of the Lord, so he has total control over his mind and senses. So he does not have this sex desire. He's already controlled it. His mind is so absorbed in Krishna. He's getting that higher pleasure. Like Jamunacharya, he said, one of the great acharyas, he said that he was a king before. He was a king. And then later he became a devotee. And then he said, oh, now when I think of sex desire, of sexual activity, then my mind turns in disgust. That he was getting so much higher pleasure in bhakti that to him, sex was like disgusting. Whereas here in the material world, the sex desire is what is attracting us here, keeping us here, all of us. It's the strongest desire that we have. But a pure devotee like Jamunacharya, he said, when I think of sex desire, my tongue turns in disgust. Well, how can he say that? Because he's experiencing so much pleasure from engaging in devotional service, in his connection with Krishna. So, reading. Any questions or comments till now?
No, everything is clear.
Okay, thank you. So, text 17. Esha te ham vidha yami priyam viru yad ichhasi tasya kamam naka kuryat siddhis trevargiki yataha. O afflicted one, I shall forthwith gratify whatever desire is dear to you, for who else but you is the source of the three perfections of liberation. So now Kashyap Muni is speaking to Diti. The three perfections of liberation are religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. So a lot of part of the Vedas, they teach dharma, artha, and kama. Religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Then everyone is engaged. Mostly everyone is there. Let me do some pious activity. When I do pious activity, dharma, then I will get artha. I will get some economic benefit. Then why do we want this economic development benefit? Because then we can enjoy our senses more. We can get more opulent, more money, more beauty, more, more better things to enjoy the senses. So then that leads to kama. For a conditioned soul, the wife is considered to be the source of liberation because she offers her service to the husband for his ultimate liberation. Conditional material existence is based on sense gratification. And if someone has the good fortune to get a good wife, he is helped by the wife in all respects. If one is disturbed in his conditional life, he becomes more and more entangled in material contamination. So husband and wife are meant to cooperate with each other so that they are peaceful, their needs are met, and that they can focus on the ultimate liberation, getting out of this material world. A faithful wife is supposed to cooperate with her husband in fulfilling all material desires so that he can then become comfortable and execute spiritual activities for the perfection of life. If, however, the husband is progressive in spiritual advancement, the wife undoubtedly shares in his activities, and thus both the wife and the husband profit in spiritual perfection. So in the earlier days, what it was that in the Vedic times, that the husband would take up the spiritual practices, and the woman, she would just be serving him, cooking for him, or, seeing after his needs. And then in that way, she would also make spiritual advancement because she is following the Stri Dharma. That was the Vedic times before. The wives would not separately engage in devotional service. The husband is engaging in devotional service, so automatically that benefit that he's getting by spiritual advancement, the wife would get. That's why she's called Ardhangani. That whatever pious activities the husband does, the spiritual activities he does, she gets half the share.
She would consider him, no? Pati Parmeshwar.
Pati Parmeshwar. Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And because the husband in those times were also capable of delivering the wife, they were capable. That's why she could follow. That's why it was like that. He was capable of liberating himself from this material world and liberating her also. So then, thus both the husband and wife, the wife and the husband profit in spiritual perfection. It is essential, therefore, that the girls as well as boys be trained to discharge spiritual duties so that at the time of cooperation, both will be benefited. The training of the boys is brahmacharya and the training of the girl is chastity. A faithful wife and spiritually trained brahmachari are a good combination for advancement of the human mission. So means training should be given to the children from the very young age to engage in spiritual activities. It's very difficult to do it nowadays, but we can see that many devotees who then get children, then they give them this training right from the beginning of their life. So these are like fortunate children.
What do they mean by training of the girl is chastity?
I'm sorry?
What does it mean, that training of the girl is
chastity? That she also has to be faithful to the husband, That so the husband also has to be, so the boy is trained in brahmacharya, means he has to be properly situated that his duty, once he enters Grahastha ashram, is to
Lunch of devi.
emotionally take care of the wife, and then the wife knows, okay, I'm being well taken care of by my husband. It's difficult because, you know, nowadays the men, they don't know how to emotionally take care of the women, and so then the women are looking for that emotional care outside.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's how this women's liberation, all this, it was started by men to take advantage of innocent women. You know,
And
what
we are
was
well versed with this Vedic, right? Knowledge, you know.
Yeah, in the Vedic time, when it means that you have to protect the woman, means what? You have to give her the emotional care that she needs. You know, we women, we need that emotional care. So that is what is needed. When the husband provides it, then the wife is faithful. And then it can be a good combination, peaceful, and can engage in devotional activities peacefully. But that is very missing nowadays. We should try
Yes.
to, you know, give the younger children this kind of a knowledge. And the women also now, the young girls say, what do you mean protection? I don't need protection. I can do everything by myself. You know, but that is like artificial. No? It's supposed to be a combination between man and woman. We don't have to artificially try to say that I'm better than a man or I'm better than a woman. Each has a role to play in society.
Nowadays, girls say, no, we can stand on their own feet.
Yeah,
We can
yeah,
take care of
it's
ourselves.
true. But
Yeah.
it's not only that standing on the own feet that is required, you know. You know, okay, we know we get this, we spend so much time in education, so we want to work, we want to make money.
Yeah, it's all
That's
book
good.
knowledge, no? Right. It's not
Yeah,
Atma.
yeah, yeah. And then,
Yes.
but what originally was supposed to be, that we are not supposed to compete, men and women are not supposed to compete with each other. You know, that's what it has become, a
Yeah.
competition, that I'm better than a man or I'm better than a woman. It's not supposed to be that way. Men have their own strengths, women have their own strengths. So when we combine, using each other's strengths, you know, helping in each other's shortcomings, then we can have a good combination, a peaceful life. No? But we have forgotten that. It's very difficult to do that.
Yeah. It's all
But
about woman power,
I'm sorry.
equality. Woman power, equality. That's where
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
there
but
now, no?
yeah, I mean, men, and we don't have to compete. Yes, men are good in some ways, and women are good in some ways. Why, you know? And we are all equal. We are all souls. We are not the body. You know, we get go so into it that, oh yeah, I'm a woman and I'm so better than you. But we are all souls.
Yeah. True. The distinction is not there.
Yeah, we are all souls. And so we just have to see how we could cooperate with each other. You know, we each have our strengths, we each have our good points. And then how we could, the intelligence is how to use each other's strengths for each other's benefit, no?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, as you say, it's book knowledge that we have. And then because of this book knowledge, we are just artificially, you know, creating more and more issues for our own selves. But if we just get the training from the beginning, oh, okay, you're not the body, you're the soul, you know, anyways. And learn to respect each other, learn to cooperate with each other. You know, that respect, that each and everyone needs that respect, whether man or woman, you know. That is what we are forgetting. And because of that disrespect, then we claim, okay, we are better than you and you are better than, like that, you know. So let's see how long is this. Okay, let's try to read it. Sarva Shraman. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. Sarvashraman upadayas swashramena kalatravan vyasan narnavam atyeti jalayanir yathar navam. As one can cross over the ocean with sea-going vessels, one can cross the dangerous situation of the material ocean by living with a wife. There are 4 social orders for cooperation in the endeavor for liberation from material existence. The orders of brahmacharya or pious student life, household life with a wife, retired life, and renounced life all depend for successful advancement on the householder who lives with a wife. So why is it dependent on the grihast for a person who's married who lives with a wife? Because he is supposed to maintain the brahmachari, the vanaprast, and the sannyasi. When a person is a brahmachari, he's not making money. He's just working, he's studying, he's not making money. And then retired life, people don't make money in retired life. And renounced life, the sannyas, they've given up the work, they also don't make money. So then it's the responsibility of the grihast ashram, the grihastas, to maintain the other sections of the society. So this cooperation is essential for the proper functioning of the institution of the 4 social orders and the 4 spiritual orders of life. This Vedic Varna Sharma system is generally known as the caste system. So this was traditionally how Krishna had created the society and divided the society so everybody can be peaceful according to their nature and position in society. But what happened is we degraded it to the ordinary caste system. We degraded it. The Brahmanas were saying, I'm superior. So, everybody is less than me. So this system got degraded. But originally, in Vedic times, it would work very perfectly. The man who lives with a wife has a great responsibility in maintaining the members of the other social orders, the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis. Except for the grihastas or the householders, everyone is supposed to engage in the spiritual advancement of life. And therefore, the brahmachari, the vanaprasth, and sannyasi have very little time to earn a livelihood. So we see how Krishna had divided that. Suppose out of 100, we make 4 parts, 25, 25, 25, 25. So 75% of our time is supposed to be for spiritual advancement and only 25% for working, maintaining. That's how it is, so that we can actually make proper use of this human body. Therefore, they collect alms from the grihastas and thus they secure the bare necessities of life and cultivate spiritual understanding. By helping the other 3 sections of society cultivate spiritual values, the householder also makes advancement in spiritual life. So because the householder, he's working hard, making money, and with his hard-earned wealth, he's helping the other sections of society become spiritual. So he's getting the benefit. He's also becoming spiritual. We also get the benefit of the same, like when we do pious activity, we get the benefit, right? Similarly, when we are helping others do their spiritual activities, it helps us advance spiritually. Ultimately, every member of society automatically becomes spiritually advanced and easily crosses the ocean of nations. So this is how Krishna had originally divided the society so that everyone can cooperate with one another and uh, uh, engage in spiritual practices and make this life the last life, easily cross the ocean of nations. No need to come back again to this world of birth, death, old age, and disease. But now in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to again get this Varna Sharma system back. And so that's why what Prabhupada was wanting to do is Devi Varna Sharma. Devi Varna Sharma, engage in Bhakti Yoga. And then in that, we can see there are many farm communities also, many communities where they try to, ISKCON has that. that there are certain class of people who are more Brahmanical, so they are given Brahmanical duties. Some are more Kshatriya, so they're given managerial duties. Some are more in, what's that? The business community, Vaishya. So then they are the one who are working, providing. And then the Shudras, they're helping everywhere. There's so many services required. And then the center focus is Krishna. All for the pleasure of Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes. But I think I read in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, that there was a way, like, the brahmacharis, first you start with 25 years. And then after that, okay, you'll get married. So you have to maintain the household life for another 25 years. And then when you turn 50, after 50, then you take a retired life, the vanaprastha. And then after 75, then it's like, yeah, now you should renounce.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right.
Is
Yes,
that
yes.
right?
Yes, that's how the cycle is supposed to be.
It was
That's
supposed to
how,
be this.
yeah, that's how it means that 75% of our life, we are supposed to engage in spiritual activities. And
Spiritual, yes.
only
Right.
25% we are supposed to be working, trying to maintain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yes.
The grasta, right.
So thank you so much for joining in today morning. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol, Hare